Do you have a really good day where you actually sit down and plan out your week? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. If we haven't met before, my name is Michele and I'm a certified online business manager, and I kindly kick digital CEOs out of the back office so they can focus on more sales, more revenue, and my very favorite, more impact. So, Sunday is my day for planning. Now, granted, it doesn't always go exactly how I want it on Sundays because I do have three children and they are quite busy. So, not always is Sunday my day for planning, but it is the day that I like to plan the best. And I don't know, for me, it's just because it gets me so excited about the week to come and really nail down the things that I want to get done. So at the end of each month, I'll go through and do a high level planning day. So that's where I actually take and map out everything in my calendar, my Google Calendar, as well as my paper planner, so that I can see all of those things that need to happen um, from a high level. So if I'm looking at my planner, I can absolutely know everything that needs to happen. That's where I actually mark all my out of day things, or out of office is what I mean to say, days in my calendar, so that I can get a really good idea on the days that I'm actually going to be working and available for not only my business, but for my clients' businesses. And then that time is also translated into my Google Calendar so I can share it with the family as well as my clients, so that everybody understands and has a set expectation of what is going on for the month. I started my family with the Google Calendar when my children were very little, so that everybody knew exactly what was going on. Every family member has their own calendar in there and it's color coded. So by looking at it, we know what family member has what going on at that particular time. And yes, all five of us could have something different going on at any given minute or time during the day. So that's how I like to make sure I know exactly what's going on, who is going. It was more when the kids were younger, but who is taking who, when, and where. That's a very important thing to know, so that no one is late to anything or misses an activity, because that would drive me crazy. Plus, I like things to pop up and remind me that I need to do something, because I have a tendency to really get my head down into things and get absorbed in that deep work, and I don't necessarily pull away. So that's why I like to have things also in my Google Calendar, so that it chimes and alerts me at that 10-minute mark when I need to be moving on to my next task. And then it also gives me that space then there to know if I need to reschedule more time to finish up a task if I've gone over. Now, your time tends to fill up the time that you allot for it. So I really don't like to cut into my free time in that section as well. Okay, so let's move on to the other things that I like to do at the end of each month, so that it preps me for a quick and easy planning for each week, because I do it in sections. So I plan out my month, I plan out my week, and then I revisit everything at the end of the day to make sure that the next day is going to flow correctly. So those things that take longer than I anticipated, those are the things that get rolled over into the next day's plan, because I'll time block like specific thing or time block, but I won't give specific tasks to things until I know exactly what's going to go on and happen, and that happens the night before. So that's the planning. So I always do high level planning and then really get fine tuned the day before. So that's just the way I do it. That's what I found has worked personally for me. So depending on how it works for you, that's what you need to do. So I mentioned time, I think a time blank or time bank. Now this term is fairly new to me, as well, maybe for the last 6 months or so. As one of the LBMs that I work with, she always time banks her time. So what I mean by that is she actually breaks down her time, like exactly the time she's sleeping, the time that she's doing activities, her free time, everything. So everything goes into that time bank, and then that's done once a month. So she knows exactly when everything is going to get done. So that's something that I've adopted as well. So the difference between a time bank is I will actually plan out in 30-minute increments the things that are going to happen, and I know exactly. So the first thing that I start with when I do my time bank and my planning is my free time or my personal time, however you want to call it, the kid time, family time, any of those things. That's what it is. So those are the things that go in first. This is my free time, my personal time, and I plan it out in that time bank then, and then that gets translated into my calendar so that I know exactly that this is when my free time is and my personal time. And then the next thing that I put in the time bank is all my meetings. So any recurring meetings that I have or meetings that are coming up for that month go into my time bank as well. And that could also mean any activities that I have with my kids, because my personal time, I just put the block in there. I don't necessarily always plan that this is going to happen, because I do need to give myself a little freedom and flexibility. Otherwise, I start to feel like too stringent in my plans. So I like plans, but yet I need to give myself time to just not do anything at all. And that's what I call my free time. So I put all of that time in, put that time bank in, so I know exactly how many minutes that I have in the week to get my work accomplished and done. Because there are weeks where I may only be able to work on client work a couple days during the week because of different things that I have going on. So I need to make sure that I'm adequately, okay, so words are hard. I think I say that every single video. Okay, so that's how I know when I'm going to actually get everything done and have the correct amount of time planned for it. Okay, so the first thing that I do on Sundays when I'm planning is I do my meal planning for the week. And I write that down on our chalkboard menu that we have in our kitchen. So everybody in the family knows what we're eating and what days we're just going to be having leftovers or something that's a grab and go meal because we have something going on in the evening. So this week just happens to be a fairly busy week, and only 2 days are we able to actually cook meals. So I need to make sure that when I make those meals, we are going to have enough food to spread across the whole week, because people will be coming and going at all different times, and I need to make sure that they have something to eat. And the first thing my son asks me every single day when he comes home from practice is, are we gonna eat something, or do I need to just eat leftovers? By having that meals planned out, then he knows exactly whether or not he needs to make something himself, or if we are going to be sitting down as a family to do it. Or when he comes home from practice at 8 o'clock at night, he knows exactly what's going on. I will also then do a mind sweep. So I'm not sure if this happens to you. I'm sure it does, but I have all those things floating around in my head, and if I don't actually start with a mind sweep and know exactly the things that need to get out of my brain, and then I can prioritize whether or not that needs to happen this week, if it's a someday maybe thing, what exactly that actual task or item that's floating around in my brain, when it needs to take place or where it needs to go. And then it just needs to get put on my master action list. That way it's not going to pop into my head when I really don't want it to. So whether that be at night or when I'm trying to have a conversation with my family and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that, because they say something that triggers me and I'm like, oh, I didn't do that thing. So I like to do a mind sweep so I can get those things out of my brain and on paper, and then I can actually put them into my planning or my master task list. Okay, so the next thing I do is actually sort my inbox, because I tend not to read my email on the weekends. And when I go through and do my actual inbox, then that's when I do and sort it. So I sort any of my actions that need to take place, and they get put on my master action list. And then I have two master actions list. I have my personal and I have my business because I really don't. I don't like to intermix those things. And the reason why is because I can go down a rabbit hole. If I log into my personal action list and see something on there that triggers me for my business, I will start to go down a rabbit hole and I can't. I mean, I just can't because I'm supposed to be in family mode at that time. And I'll admit, sometimes I have trouble with boundaries because it's like my business and life are one. I mean, I'm one person, so they're intermingled, but I have to make sure that I'm using my correct time blocks for business mode and my personal or family mode. As my family, I have a tendency to be a workaholic, and I try not to be, but I am. I just can't help it. So that's why it's very important for me to make sure I have separate master lists for business and for personal, and that I'm also time blocking in my calendar when I'm going to do my personal stuff and when I'm going to be doing my business stuff. And by putting it in my planner and my calendar, it makes sure that I have enough time to get the things done that I need to get done in the week. Because if you're not actually, and I know, you look at your calendar and it's completely time blocked, and maybe it won't work for you. Maybe you need to look at white space. Well, plan that white space in there. If you know that you need to have time to decompress after activities, put it in your calendar. Then leave that block in there of white space so you know that after you finish this, you actually get that time to be able to do whatever you want, whether it's take a walk or read a book or whatever it is, but you get that time where it's that white space where you get to choose what you want to actually do at that time. For me, it's critical. I have to do that. I have to put those things in there or leave that white space. But my calendar is pretty packed. I like to make sure that I'm getting everything done. And then if for some reason I know that I aren't not having a productive week, like if I start on Monday and I'm like, oh, well, today was terrible. That's why I like to have those daily as well. So I have the time blocks in there, but I have the flexibility to be able to move things from one block of time to the next block of time if I need to. And I need to know the due date. So I need to know when things are due so that I'm not missing any deadlines. One of the last things that I do as well on Sundays when I'm planning out my week is that's when I actually go into the my clients' project management tools, because everybody uses something different. And I look at what it is that we have going on for the week that needs to get done, that I need to make sure that the team is getting done. Because when I go through and plan, it's like a planning, and I plan things, I touch base with the team, and then I do the things that need to get done for the client work. So it's important that I know exactly what everybody needs to get done before the end of the week so that we're making sure that our deadlines are getting met and we're getting things done. Because I know that there's been this last week, we're starting some different projects, and I'm feeling behind the 8 ball because I'm like, have a short deadline. I like to be able to have more space in there and feel proactive and not reactive, because who really tell me, do you like to feel like being reactive all the time, or doesn't it feel so much better when you're proactive and you're ahead of schedule? So those are like the main points that I actually do during the week when I sit down on Sundays to plan out my week. I have my planner, I have my digital planner, I have my project management system, and for the family, I make sure that all of our meals, because I cannot stand that dreaded question of, what's for dinner, Mom? So just one point that I also want to touch on this, I do have like an 8-week revolving meal plan. I think I might have talked about this before. So I just pull and look at that 8 weeks. We're kind of in a transition phase right now with that, as I'm trying to pull in some different meals. And my husband has been going to the store and buying different meats than I normally do. So now I have to find different recipes. But anyways, I appreciate that. So I'm not ever going to complain when he does it. So, anyways, those are the things that I do when I actually sit down and plan out my weeks on Sundays. Please let me know if you have any questions, and let me know what you have for tips and tricks that you like to do to make sure that you stay on track and keep your week and your family and your life organized.